Okay, so this is November 1st, 2020. I'm going to put this first and then whatever I was talking about yesterday in regards to a comment where somebody was suggesting that, I didn't fully understand why people were rallying up in the United States against this Mr. Walter, I'd have to Google his name again, who was shot down by police because he was having a manic episode. And you know the scenario when it comes to that with black people being shot down in public. Okay, so, but for right now, for the last, 2-3 days, right? I'm this is like, we're in a time of book burning here, people. Like, seriously. Because the more I browse YouTube, I guess you could say, right? The more I can see how its censorship is, I don't know, I don't want to say I feel like I'm in communist China, where the information that's being provided to me in terms of choices, when it comes up in my feed or my subscription page or whatever, or just suggestion videos, that type of thing, versus what I used to look at and who I used to listen to that are no longer on YouTube for whatever reason. I don't know if their accounts have actually gotten deleted, right? Because, they're conspiracy theorists and, they talk about things outside of what the corporations want us to see and hear. Or if they were a conglomerate group with that predictive programming that just kind of went off to the wayside all at one time to make it look like there was a divide between the masses, right? And I don't want to say society because it's already been determined we live in a two-tiered society, okay? And the ones that are doing the most harm are the ones that are doing it behind closed doors, are attacking people, are implementing laws and mandates and rules and orders and who knows, under the guise of public health, to basically destroy millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of lives without being held to account on misinformation that, is being manipulated to fool, in a very simple term, to fool people into giving up their life. It's beyond human rights, people. People are expected to give up their life now and just hand it over to somebody that's going to devour it, right? And you'd be at the mercy of. You're going to be at the mercy of the ones that destroyed your life. How much mercy do you think you're going to get from individuals? Don't call them people because they're not people. How much mercy do you honestly think you and your family are going to get from individuals who have destroyed your life? It's a progression. Some of us are well aware of what the fuck is going on because we've already been through it. We've been that household of 8. And now we see that same psychological warfare being played out among millions. Right? What does my government provide for my grandchildren in terms of a future? What is it? Paranoia? My government is creating a paranoid society for my grandchildren to have to defend themselves in and learn to navigate around a bunch of hostile individuals. This is what my grandchildren have to learn to navigate around for the rest of their fucking lives, okay? First of all, they have to deal with mass paranoia. Everybody's fucking paranoid, okay? Unless they're sitting like cozy with a good paycheck paid by taxpayers' fucking income to pay for those wages, right? AKA public union sector, because they're not suffering. Many of them are not, all are not suffering. Their pension plans are guaranteed. Their life insurance policies, superannuation, if they got that, they're guaranteed. Their dental plans, their medical plans, right? Their freaking You know, if the government says, well, you know, what are they called when they buy them out? They buy out the union worker, right? Severance packages, right? Those are all fucking guaranteed. Their disability pensions are guaranteed. Their pensions are guaranteed. Okay? Now, for the grace of God, I'm just going to use my family as an example, okay? For the grace of God, for as all Amari has with his issues in terms of cerebral palsy, he's not a child on a feeding tube, okay? Right? He's more mobile and alert than a lot of children in his position. But here's the crutch. No children. Oh, well, maybe under extreme circumstances, but I highly doubt it. None that are in that situation or similar situations can go to a public building that's paid for by taxes to provide services to those children in a one-on-one sense with the workers that you're working with to provide, you know, a quality of life to these children. Everything is done by Zoom now. Zoom and phone calls. Zoom and phone calls. That's it. Everybody. And of course I'm in that mix, right? Because I've got Amari, so I'm on the phone with different individuals at different points of time, and I ask them, do you like what you're doing now better than what you were doing before all this shit happened with this lockdown crap, right? Some will say they like it better. Obviously, they don't have to get up in the morning and go to the office. They don't have to go to the physiotherapy building and be one-on-one helping parents with their children. They get to stay home with their own children, planning a Zoom from their bedroom. So when you're doing a Zoom, you see a bed in the background. That's real professional, but that's what the government's basically brought it down to, right? And they're assessing the special needs child through Zoom. And you go from agency to agency to agency to agency, which all those agencies are being paid by government, because they're basically government employees, whether they're contracted out or whether they're official public union sector members, right? And so they're not hurting in regards to job loss. If anything, their jobs got easier because they don't have to go to work. So my next question is, what's happening to these buildings? Because they're empty. They're basically empty. Okay? So what? How long will a building stay in good standing before it starts to deteriorate in terms of just crumble down at the seams? Does that building have to stay 50 fucking years empty before it needs to be tore down? Right? Because they're sure in the hell not using these buildings. They had the courthouse shut down, people. Okay? And from my understanding, it just came up in the last couple of 2-3 days, Dr. You-know-who has made it where you're not allowed to have friends into your house. You're not allowed to have people into your house. Like, where is this coming from? How could you possibly tell 5.2 million people that they're not allowed to have anybody in their house outside of the safe 6? You know, they come in with their catchy little terms. No more than the safe 6 are you allowed to go outside your so-called, another catchy little term, bubble. So what is my government providing for my grandchildren that they like to advocate and sit up there and say, oh, we advocate for the most vulnerable. Yes, we do. That's why we've got 5.2 million people on fucking lockdown. Blah, 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 because it's all about the most vulnerable. At first, it's for the elderly. Well, you know, it's for the elderly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And then they go down the food chain, right? So, they provided, they are providing, they are implementing, they are guaranteeing that my grandchildren grow up in a hostile, paranoid, aggressive, and unpredictable and threatening society. That is what the new Democrat Party, and it wouldn't matter if it was the BC Liberal government in the province of British, or the Green Party, or whatever fucking party, they're all the same, because they jump on to that public union, right? That 400,000 strong government employees, right? Basically on a provincial level, not to mention the federal level, not to mention the municipal level, right? Okay? That are going to dictate and control the other 5.16 million people, just for us to hand over our lives. Literally, just give it to these individuals so that the little ones can grow up with paranoia, hostile, aggressive, unpredictable, and threatening environments for the rest of their lives, unless, of course, they conform to what those 400,000 sitting in their houses doing their Zooms tell us to do. As the buildings sit and rot, and then the monopolies come in, take over the industries that have gone bankrupt, right? So the wicked get rewarded even more, right? I told you, the only way to succeed in British Columbia, Canada, and other parts of the fucking continent is if you're truly fucking evil, mean, and a bastard. Unethical, and you're a crook. If you can be all those things, you will be successful, and you will not only be successful, but you will be admired and fucking praised upon, because you have what is called money. You have money. You've got the bling. And people will follow you off the fucking cliff thinking that what you tell them is true simply because of this shit. So, like, I don't go out very much, people, okay? I don't. But I'm getting ready to go to war the next time I go out. You know how my kids feel, right? In terms of, Mom, give up the fight. Mom, learn to relax and get back to the good old days. Mom, be happy. Mom, you know, right? Settle down. Just be happy, right? Get in touch with the things that make you happy, right? You're just a raindrop out of a billion raindrops. You're not going to make a difference, Mom. Calm down. Or, I don't want to hear it. Well, let me tell you, I'm still dropping those cues here and there. I'm trying not to be aggressive, abrasive, or rub it in my kid's face. But I'm letting them know, when I go out in fucking society, people, based on what my government has fucking created here, okay, I'm the front. I'm the front of the war, okay? I'm the one first, not the grandchildren. My grandchildren, my children are behind me. I'm in front of them. Do you understand? I have to go first, okay? Because they're incapable of doing it, right? It's not their job. It's my job to go out into a fucked up society with a bunch of lunatics running around on overdrive with their emotions, ready to rat out the guy that runs across the street without a fucking mask on, ready to call the fucking police if you're sitting on the SkyTrain without a mask on, okay? What if I want to take a SkyTrain? What, I'm going to put on a mask? No. What, I'm going to get on the SkyTrain and then be approached by a bunch of fucking goons dressed in a freaking uniform? What, are they going to arrest me? Are they going to give me a ticket? Are they going to put me in a fucking concentration camp? What are they going to do with me, people? Because I'm letting my kids listen a little here, a little there, let them know that that's what I'm up against when I go out in the community to go get bread, to go get laundry soap, to go get a fucking apple, whatever it is. And because I'm not a crook and a deviant individual, I will be the one that will be attacked and suffer the consequences for doing the right thing. Literally. Well, everybody else around me is going mad due to lack of oxygen and breathing in their own fucking germs for hours at a time, not to mention touching shit in their daily travels and then touching their masks and then moving their mask and doing this and putting it back on, whatever fuck people are going to be doing with these stupid masks. So every time you touch that mask, you're introducing new bacteria, right? And if you've been running around on a fucking SkyTrain, okay, sitting there on a mask, and then you get outside, right, and you pull down the mask, what's the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to introduce that mask to whatever fucking germs that you've been touching for the last 45 minutes. Now, you've got something hot and moist. We know water breeds germs, people. Why do you think I don't get sick very often, even though I've got all this fucking crud around me with this leaky fucking boat that I live in called a house? I come into so much fucking crud that's created from fucking water leakage, you can only imagine what I go through. But if you notice, you don't ever see me get sick. Why? Because I don't take my fingers, people, and put it in my mouth. I don't put it around my fucking face. And I sure in the hell don't breathe those same fucking germs with a face mask on. You get off the SkyTrain, you pull down your mask, whatever the fuck you were touching is on your mask now. And then you're going into another environment where you're forced to put that same mask back on. Because if you don't, you're going to be ostracized and treated like a fucking criminal. Turned into a nomad in the space of a flick of a fucking click, 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 right? Now you're dubbed a gypsy, right? Or a savage. Better yet, you're dubbed a fucking savage because what has the government created in terms of the type of society that we live in? Let me just read it one more time. A paranoid society, a hostile society, an aggressive society, an unpredictable and a threatening society. So if they see you like that because you don't simply have a mask on, they will dub you a savage. And they will hunt you down. Sooner or later, they will fucking hunt you down. As people are going around infecting themselves with every fucking kind of bacteria that, right? You go out in the SkyTrain, right? You're touching this, touching that. You're sitting on the SkyTrain with your mask on. You get off the fucking SkyTrain. You're on the street now, so you can pull down your mask a little bit, right? Okay, whatever is on your fucking hands is going onto your mask. You go into a new environment. You pull up your fucking mask. Give it fucking 10 minutes. It won't be long before the breath, the heat, the moisture of your mouth gets into those germs. And what will happen? They will breed. It's just a conductor to spread germs. And apparently these things cannot prevent colds and viruses and those types of things to go in and out in between the fibers of these masks. It's a muzzling of a nation, right? So that they can bring in fucking bloodhounds. With no cost to the government, the bloodhounds work for free! Right? Those are the ones running around out in the street with their mask on being the Soul Patrol. They're the bloodhounds that work for fucking free. And if those don't work, they come in with their fucking cops, their bylaw officers, their contract tracing, and everything else to fucking chase you around like you're the fucking savage. as the buildings sit empty until they crumble. Do you know what it's like being in a house for the amount of time that I've been in my house, you know, and know the things that I know for various different reasons, and I don't know everything. I don't profess to know everything, but I know a fair amount of shit, okay? To be having to worry about going out in public and being arrested because you refuse to wear a mask, and you don't know when you're going to get cornered or what's going to happen to you. Like, literally, you don't know what's going to happen to you. You could be attacked by a complete fucking stranger. That's just, they call them Karens, you know? These Karens that just come out of the woodwork and start beaking off. Or you could be attacked by just an overzealot fucking religious individual, regardless of their religion, that's so freaking paranoid, right, that they gotta import that paranoia onto everybody else that they come into contact with. And if you don't fucking fall in line with their paranoia and you stand up against them, they turn into the green-eyed monsters. And they literally attack you out on the streets. And then, of course, the cops come. And, of course, you're not following the social norm. So who are the cops going to side with, even though that person attacked you? We know how fucking cops can be shady. We know how cops can twist things around. We know how institutional racism works. We know how the targeting of individuals and their families so that others can prosper works. You honestly think I'm going to get any sympathy for not wearing a mask and standing up and paving the way for my grandchildren to have a better future? No, I'm not going to get no fucking sympathy. I might get knocked on the fucking head and end up dead. And then they'll be pillaging my body for whatever organs that they can salvage. Prep my body for a bodysuit and then ship it off to fucking Toronto where nobody will fucking recognize me. Treat my body like some dog in a pound. You take a dog from Surrey, you know, you remove dogs from the homeless people, you take the homeless people's dogs in Surrey. Don't give them back, right? And then take them to freaking Kelowna and sell them down there through the pound. It's just another scheme. So I'm like, okay, we know what's coming for me, people. Seriously. We know. It's like in my blood. Right? In terms of having to... That's why my kids get upset. Calm down, Mom. Why are you fighting? Just go with it. Right? Go under the radar. Don't stand up for anything. There's nothing you can do to change it. Why you want to punish yourself? Or whatever, right? And I'm like, now I'm looking online. And I'm going to get to the end of this, okay? So over the last couple of days, through this fucking heightened panic attack, as if I don't experience panic attacks already, but now you can see how highly heightened it is, thanks to my provincial government of British Columbia, Canada, right? Now I'm online looking for information that I can fucking print out, put it in my purse, so that when I go out in public and come across official public union sector workers that are just doing their job, I can hand them over the fucking paper and tell them that whatever old okie dokie they are giving me, here is the countersuit on it. I disagree. And this is why, in black and white, because that's what my kids do. Where's the proof? Where's the proof? So I'm looking, and now we're into book burning. Google shit on Google now. Like articles and stuff, looking for that second opinion. You're not going to find too many of them, people. You're not. Because the fucking Soul Patrol on the internet is burning the books. They're burning the books. They're removing articles that used to be there that aren't there anymore. And if they are, they're buried so far deep into the search engines, you can't find them because they're being shadow banned, like my fucking videos. Not that I'm nobody or anybody, but, you know, some of the things I talk about are very valid points. And more people should listen to it, but they don't because they don't even know I exist. Right? They allow, you know, individuals to completely spam federal trademark, right, for the purpose of public shaming and humiliation and defamation of character. So as soon as people see that shit, if they Google New Nations Unity, you know, it just puts that spin on. But you see, that's how the government plays, though, because they've been playing like that for a long fucking time. They just continue playing the same game, right? And now the ante is even more because they're not just playing it with me and my family. They're playing it with 5.2 million people. Okay, this is like a bad, Dr. Henry Bonney is like a bad fucking social worker coming in to destroy families. She's no different than a bad fucking social worker that's working for the Ministry of Children and Family Development and did what they did to Ciera to destroy the whole family. What is the difference between Christine Miller, the worker that destroyed my family by taking Andre illegally, kicking out his mother into the fucking cold middle of winter illegally simply because she could, because she knew that the union was going to support her ass, stand behind her, because by taking Andre, brought in, what, $80,000 into their budget? And it guaranteed their superannuation life insurance policy, their pension plans, their wages, their dental packages, their healthcare packages, their fucking gas receipts, and all this other shit that they get away with. That's what Dr. Henry Bonney is doing. As well as opening up the gene pool for more dead bodies to come in so that two-tiered society, the ones that see us as a commodity, have more choice. When there is a demand for a product, what do people like to have? Or individuals for that matter. They like choice. Right? They like selection. They like a surplus. But when you're trafficking human bodies, dead or alive, right? You have to make sure that the packaging is just right. And you're not going to be able to package them up until you fucking get it organized and how you can control the products. Right? That's what's happening. That's what's happening, people. Manufactured poverty on a whole new level. Based on some fucking individual that plays part-time social worker that's on a mission to destroy tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of families, collectively with her partner groups in other jurisdictions when it comes to the United States and the rest of Canada. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, all it's doing is setting up the public union sector to continue having their jobs, having all their perks and pensions, blah, 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 right? Having the ability to do their work at home now, right? With just, you know, these Zoom calls or whatever it is, through paperwork, basically, emails, that, right? Well, the buildings around them that they used to work in just crumble. Just crumble. Unless, of course, in 2 years from now, Dr. You-Know-Who, if they haven't replaced her by then, will come in and say, okay, now we have this vaccine so that everybody can get back to normal, and you better take it, because if you don't, even though we've been treating you like a fucking savage for the last 3 years of your fucking life and destroyed your grandchildren's futures and all this other shit that's been going on in your life, right, due to us, but we just don't take responsibility for it. If you don't follow us and take these fucking vaccines, we're still going to treat you like a savage. Because right now, if I go out into public, take a SkyTrain, and find out that I get a fucking ticket, or I get arrested, or whatever fucking happens, that tells me that whoever's running around out there doesn't see me anything more than a fucking savage. And if they're going to treat me like a savage, then you know they're treating my kids and my grandkids like savages. But you know what? Going to my videos, people, they've been treating my family like a savages for a long fucking time. Okay? These things that have happened to my family didn't just happen randomly. It happened around institutional racism, okay? The majority of institutional racism basically is centered around Caucasian people. But that's not to say that other ethnic groups like the Punjabis and the Chinese, that they don't have their own structure of institutional racism. It really depends on where your demographics are. Hell, black on black in freaking Africa, you know, you've got this black fraction and this black fraction, and they're fighting between themselves, which in itself, the ruling class of those two fractions, they're oppressing the other class, that in itself is a form of institutional racism. We just happen to live in North America where the majority of our politicians are Caucasian and have been for a long time, right? So, you know, I don't know. I just know that they're bringing in robots now. They're using coronavirus to start removing jobs from restaurants and McDonald's, and just you watch over the next 5 years how robots are going to start fucking doing something and replace the humans. Okay, they're just breaking down the family structure right now and rewarding the crooks, basically, the ones that can't fucking lead the charge. Although we're convinced that they are, because they're the ones that flash the money. The ones that are going to be flashing the money with prosperity, with their corporations and their businesses and all that, they're leading the charge to fool the masses, to make the masses think that we're on the right track. When in fact, you know, you have to look behind the scenes and realize that there are hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are being treated like savages, okay, and are going to suffer the consequences around what our governments are implementing in terms of what a normal society should be when it comes to going out and having to face paranoia, hostility, aggression, and unpredictable and threatening behavior from other people who have taken upon themselves to cover up their face so that they can't be identified. And because they're covered up, they're like fucking keyboard warriors, right? Behind the computer screen, thinking that they're bad and fucking big, and they can fucking terrorize you, abuse you, hunt you down, and fucking kill you
what I've showed you today.
When the opportunity arises. Because they know in the back of their mind, dirty cops are going to fucking allow it to happen anyway. Because at the end of the day, those dead bodies, where do they go to? They go directly to the public union sector, who then from that point forward fucking pillage those bodies by any means necessary for their own benefit, right? There's a few of those benefits there. Not going to get into that. We already know. And the cycle is just going to keep going around and around and around, right? As those buildings sit empty. As those buildings sit empty, and you're out in public, touching all this shit, touching your mask, heating it up nice and good with your breath, and introducing other pathogens into your body that really could create some serious issues for you in terms of your health. Right? No. Try finding that information, though, on Google search. You won't find it because they're scrubbing it. They're scrubbing that shit off the internet, right? I might have to go into one of my books in here in order to be able to fucking find it. And when I do, I'll photocopy it. And if I get fucking harassed in a SkyTrain, I'll be like whipping out the paper. It says right here, black and white. It won't stop the ticket. It won't stop me from getting arrested. It won't stop me from being bonked on the head if somebody really wants to shut me up and fucking hurt me. But it will fucking open up the door for others to maybe step up to the plate and do the right thing and stand up for their rights. Because if they don't start standing up for their rights, people, if you think you've got a problem with institutional racism right now, just give it a little more time. Give it a little more fucking time, okay? All right? This is why people need to stand up to this fucking mass kill-off with the fentanyl crisis, okay? All right? If you've got 80,000 people dying in the United States of America, I'm going to end it on this note. If you've got 80,000 people dying from fentanyl-related deaths in the United States of America every year, and it's been, consecutive years, over a period of years, right? With the cops and everybody not really doing anything about it other than, they did it to themselves. It was an accident or a suicide, but ultimately they should have known better, and you've got maybe, I don't know, we'll say 20 individuals being shot down by the cops, and out of those 20 individuals being shot down by the cops, one or two of them sparks an uprising, namely because they're black, and that's what draws attention, right? But through that attention brings in riots, looting, right? But if you watch some of these little episodes where people are rioting and looting, they're all wearing masks. How can you be a hoodlum and wear a mask because your government told you need to cover yourself up to protect yourself? Like, it's so bizarre. I see zombies. Now, I'm going to end it on this little note here. This is... Hold on. London has fallen. They're walking through London showing how businesses are closed up.
So you'd expect this to start getting busy now with
right?
finishing.
How there's nobody on the sky trains. Everything's all boarded up. Right? And people just accept this as normal. Right? Look at this. Right? Empty trains. Empty platforms. Everybody wearing masks. I'm going to go on. What do you think's going to happen to me, people? You don't think that these fucking nutballs that are sitting there convinced that they're doing the right thing aren't going to fucking swarm me like a pack of fucking hyenas? Or maybe a pack of fucking lizard people that are just going to rip my arms, legs, and head off? Run off with my body parts and go munch on them in the fucking bush? And then come back and stalk and hunt down their next victim? Now, I mean, obviously I'm being very figurative, but there is a video of the army or one of those, type things where they got it in ultra sense, like in night vision, and somebody's running, shooting at 5 or 6 looks like human beings running around chasing him. And he's shooting, pow, 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 pow. But these things end up overtaking that individual. And this is all being recorded by the army. And what do those things do that have bodies that look like humans? They rip that individual's body parts, pull off an arm, a leg, and you can see them literally running away with body parts that they just ripped off from the individual that they hunted down, even though that individual had a fucking gun and was shooting at them. What? Is that just a fake video? Or is that video real? Personally, I tend to think it's real. Just like personally, I tend to think, and you want to talk about institutional racism, trust me, British Columbia, Canada is fucking deep with it. All right, they've been targeting the Aboriginal community since the beginning of time. All right, and I do believe that the monarch and that group of individuals come to Canada every now and then and scoop up on vulnerable children and young people and take them off to some fucking winter wonderland to release them so that they can fucking hunt them and to never be caught. That is my personal belief. Because people have already tried to stand up against it. And the ones that went to testify against what they already knew have ended up dead. Because it's like book burning, right? So anyway, I'm all stressed out thinking about having to go to the courthouse and take a SkyTrain and then get arrested before I even get to the fucking courthouse. Or I get a $200 ticket, another $200 ticket, another $200 ticket, and before you know it, I'll owe my government $5,000 in tickets for not wearing a mask after I've been bullied by each and every person basically around me because I'm not handing over my life to a government who has basically destroyed my life by destroying my family members one at a time based on institutional racism and depriving me access to fair legal representation through legal aid outside of when it's absolutely imperative, right? You see, they won't give me a lawyer for what they did to ShaMay. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't have done what they did to ShaMay. They won't give me a lawyer for what they did to Uncle John. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't have done it. And that's the point. That's why I filed the lawsuits, people. They had to give me one for Amari. They had to, right? That was just in their budget. Andre, I had to fight for people and threaten and actually start the process of starting a lawsuit on my own in the Supreme Court to put a fucking hold on what they were doing, and then they blindsided me, gave me a lawyer, and it dragged out for 15 months before they cut me a deal with the threat that if I didn't take the deal, I wouldn't be able to get Andre back tomorrow. It would be fought in court. So they always got you over a barrel. But if you're not fucking crooked and sell corruption to mislead the people, you'll have lots of this. But if you're someone like me, you're going to end up getting fined for standing up for your right because you refuse to be in a fucking society. I mean, it's one thing you having to be in a society like this, knowing that you're not going to be around much longer, but to be in a society like this and have your grandchildren grow up around this and your fucking kids go crazy around it and everybody else around them get fucking crazy over this shit and you're just going to stand there and stay quiet. And it's not going to happen, people. Not going to happen. And being that we're on the subject of institutional racism, I am going to write that down here, okay? Because I have been faced with institutional racism for a long, long, long time. And in my opinion, they're just ramping it up. But they're not going to attack the ones with the wealth, right? They're not. Like I said, if they do, like I'm used, for example, the Punjabis, it will be the black sheeps. It won't be the collective, right? Because they represent too much wealth in the community. So they're on the last of the hit list, but families such as my own, right? Minority groups that, you know, like that are like medium income to low income, we're the first. We're the first. We've been the first. Okay, so same day, only it's 3:49 in the afternoon versus 5:49 in the morning. Okay, so I got the pot ready, you can see, right? Here's the stock. I don't think I'm going to get 6 jars, but I put 6 clean jars. You do not have to sterilize them because they're going in the pressure canner for at least 20 minutes. I'm going to double check on that one, okay? In terms of just stock by itself, okay? Nothing but stock, okay? So I'm going to heat this up now, bring it to a boil, fill up my jars, wipe my rims, put them in the canner, give them their processing time. And then what I did is I washed up this, you can see, right? You take it to the sink, you put it in lukewarm, bubbly, soapy water, right? You wash them really good. You take a soft toothbrush, you get up gently underneath, up in the rims here, okay? So that when your jars sit over a long period of time, you don't have food particles that start to oxidize on your rim, and then you're thinking like that wasn't there when I put it in there, and like why is it there? Did my jar pop? When in fact it was there, you just didn't notice it because maybe you used a rag, and you know, over a period of time it oxidizes with the air, right? So it's going to change, right? And then you're going to be deceived. So you got to be careful about that. So the best thing that you can do is just take a light toothbrush and just kind of go like that, right? All the way around. You know, if you want, you can double check after they're dry. They're still wet. So hold on. Okay, so it is same date, right? I got 3 jars. And 1 jar was chipped. And now what I'm doing is I saved a bit of the broth, okay? And I'm going to attempt to make a cream potato, a turkey cream potato soup. Not a lot, but I'll show you, right? So right now I'm mincing a few more onions. I want a few more onions minced. Fresh. I'm going to put this in fresh, right? 1 piece of celery. Let me just go wash it. I forgot about it. Right. I have this little mincing machine. This is how I'm going to make this, to show you. But, as I'm doing it, you know, I just uploaded that video that I was up at 6 o'clock this morning, right? Okay? And somebody came in and made a comment, and basically, what I had said in that video, right, was people will come out into the streets and they're dubbing it riots because people are taking this opportunity to go into stores and vandalize and loot and steal things, and you know, they're setting things on fire and just whatever, right? They're using the police shooting as the reason to you know, take it out of the box. So it's not that they're rallying because somebody was, I wanted to say murdered, but basically murdered by the cops, who have a history of racially profiling African people, namely their young men, right? You see? And, what do you call it? Oh, see, I'm not paying attention. Oh my. Oh, I thought I was at 20. Ooh, God, you gotta pay attention to this stuff. I'm at 15, that's why it's doing that. Ooh, turn my stove down to 2 now. I'm bringing it right down to minimum, okay? Because you don't want this thing going up to 20. You get the hell away from it if it's going up to 20. Because it's going to do what it's going to do. You won't be able to control it. I'm on minimum. Like, it's almost like turn off the fucking burner here. Hey, it's not jiggling no more. If it wasn't jiggling, I wouldn't have noticed, people. Remember that, okay? You witnessed that in action. My heart jumped a beat. Ooh. Okay, now I can bring it back to 2. Ooh, let it just cool down in there. Okay. See how fast something can escalate and get out of control? Well, that's what's happening. Like I said in that video, and this person didn't mention that. I don't feel. First of all, I don't feel like I have to defend what I said, or for the other person to feel that they have to justify what people in the United States are doing right now in terms of these rallies and protests and riots and to get their message across that they're done and tired with mainly white and other non-black public union sector workers within the justice system, aka cops. Stop exploiting them with violence that puts them at death simply because they can do it and they'll never get held to account. People will rally for that, but they won't rally for cops covering up murder, right? So that they can harvest the organs illegally with their partner groups, right? And launder money in the billions and billions and billions of dollars as they take their position of authority and walk out into the community and may or may not pow, 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 knowing that they can get away with it. What is the difference? What is the difference with cops actually knowing that they can get away with it, where cops are covering up literal murder so that organs can be illegally harvested because they know they can get away with it? No, right? Now, if you want to take it to the numbers, in terms of the numbers of people dying from cops being shot by, people being shot by cops, right? Right? Disproportionately, black people, right? Versus the numbers of people dying from fentanyl, whether it's directly related to somebody poisoning for the intent to murder, or whether it's just, negligent dope dealers don't give a damn about their customers and couldn't care if they die off as long as they get their fix with their $20 fucking baggie when they're selling it. You have to think of fentanyl as it being like a dispensary. It gets dispensed out into the community by the upper echelon that control the flood of it, right? It's not the petty dope dealers that are so-called the problem, as it is the fucking ones that dispense it into the community so that the dope dealers can have it. This is what the cops are covering up, because they know people will use it as a murder weapon and poison people. There's so many ways you can do it, and because it's such an ambiguous drug, right? They do their psychological warfare, blame the victim, right? Suicide or an accident, never fucking murder. And everybody just goes along with the old okie dokie. As tens of thousands continue to die every year, 70 to 80,000 people in the United States of America, and that's what it is accounted for. Now it's getting too low. Right? And that's what it's getting accounted for. We're probably at 1,500 right now, just in British Columbia right now, and of course they're blaming it on COVID, even though 2015 there was over 1,500 people who died. 2018, 1,500 people died, but all of a sudden 1 year little rest because they didn't put so much out into the community to make it look like that they were curbing the problem. Then they came in with this shit, and now it's exploded again, and they're blaming the victims again. And everybody's just going with the old okie dokie. Nobody's rioting about that. Right? They're not. It's like they condone murder. They condone cover-ups. Right? If you can't see it fucking straight up in your fucking face and see it for what it is in terms of Kenneth Foster. Kenneth Foster? That 20-year-old guy running around in Seattle or someplace for a $2 bus ticket, right? Next thing you know, cops got him fucking cornered, and they fucking shoot him down right in front of the fucking camera, and they leave him on the ground to bleed out. Well, the blacks in the neighborhood are, you can't, they want to go help, but they can't because the cops, all of a sudden, 50 of them showed up out of nowhere, people. Plain clothes, some with, uniforms. personally, I think that, and I still say it to this day, right? I think he was sniped in the direction that he was running in to get away from those fucking cops over a $2 ticket. Down that way, right? Somebody was in the fucking one of those buildings. They sniped him and came in like that. They can write anything they want in their reports. Anything, people. And that's what they do. But it's not just with situations like that. Those are the distractions to keep you blinded to the bigger kill. Because there's a bigger kill going on. Okay? And nobody's talking about it because, you know, it's so ambiguous and it's hard to point fingers. But yet the numbers are staring in your face. 70 to 80,000 people every fucking year are dying of fentanyl in the United States of America. And I can almost guarantee you, by the end of this year, that number will probably jump to 90,000, if not more. And everybody will stay quiet. And when they're not, they're too busy pointing their fingers at the victims, completely ignoring what people like me have to say in regards to cops like to cover up murder when it relates to fentanyl because it's so hard to prove. And even when it's staring in their face, all they have to do is tweak their little fucking files, right? And just play you off like you're insignificant, right? And the problem will go away so they can do it again and again and again and again and again. And nobody says anything. They wait for the one guy that's acting erratic to be shot down by the cops, to come out and uprise because of systemic racism that's been going on for the beginning of North America, really, in terms of the United States and Canada, that type of crap. White supremacy, institutional racism, right? And then to see it as an opportunity to loot. And to destroy and to distract away from that bigger problem. Okay? Because if they address the fentanyl problem, right, and those types of things in communities that are, you know, somewhat, I don't know, medium to poor, you know, it doesn't, right? I mean, drugs is in every ethnic and every economical household, like geographic. Like you got your rich, your ultra rich, you've got your middle class, right, and so on. It's a trickle down effect, right? I don't know. I lost my thought. Okay, to me, it's just a big distraction. It was a setup, right? Somebody's getting paid to do this shit. To keep and you know what's even stranger? Everybody's wearing a mask. All the videos that I'm watching lately, everybody is wearing a mask. Where does that leave me when I go out in public and I refuse to wear a mask? Am I going to get arrested or I'm going to get a fucking fine? What's going to happen to me, people? Seriously. Okay? Just because there's 100 people out there, for an example, that have I don't want to say conform, but have submitted themselves to this dictatorship. Okay? I can't call it a lie because there's lots of people out there believe what they're being told. But I digress, right? I don't necessarily believe everything that I'm being told. I still have my human rights. Right? Okay? So, you know, but watching, like, do you know how asinine, ridiculous, like, freaking off the wall, right? What do you call it? People rioting, looting stores, right? Acting just whatever, and they're all in masks. If that isn't staged, I don't know what is. And all it took was 2 cops getting up on fucking YouTube, as usual, right? shooting down a black guy and letting him bleed out on the streets, where all the natives in the neighborhood have to stand back and watch, with mom screaming in the background. That's all it takes to rise up a fucking nation. It seems staged to me, people, from the policing part of it. Not from the victims part, but from the policing part. Right? Obviously they want this because they want you distracted away from the high numbers, tens of thousands, 80 to 90,000, okay? Americans dying every fucking year with fentanyl-related deaths as your local police departments cover up murder so that they can illegally harvest organs. What do you think's gonna happen to this young person's organs after it's all said and fucking done? That was a freebie. The rest of them they have to fucking steal. But you can't steal them unless they're available. And you can't go around murdering people all the time because people would begin to notice. So yeah, dispense out a little fucking drug that everybody knows is potent and you should have known better. You did it to yourself. Follow the old okie dokie. And that's why that shit with what the cops are doing is to keep the fuel, they're just adding sparks to the fuel, more firewood to the fuel. They're fueling it. And the people are reacting to it and taking advantage of it if they're not being paid to go out there and run around and act like hooligans with a freaking mask on. It's not like you can identify anybody, but yet they want to bring in, biometric scanning and chips. But you don't know who's approaching you anymore, people, because half their face is covered. That in itself should be a danger signal. It's just more cover-up. That's all. Keep people confused. Deprive their brains of oxygen. And make them more retarded. And that's another thing. Since we're on the subject of black people, as a collective group, I would think that they would be concerned about what the hell their government is fucking doing outside of picking them off one by one here and there over a course of, institutional racist practices. What about this so-called vaccine that they're coming in with, which everybody's spidey sense knows that they're going to try and force on us, just like they're forcing the fucking masks on us, okay? By guilt-tripping, by crowdsourcing, peer pressure, right? By fines, by threats, by guillotine. And if not that, you're fucking wired into some camp. You would think that African American black people or whatever, right? They would be fighting and speaking out together as a team to say, you're not inoculating our children because your government, your institutional fucking racist fucking government and their public union sector employees have a history of poisoning our children through their vaccinations. Or their secret freaking science experiments that they're not telling anybody about. Like when they were using orphan black children for AIDS to test in the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. They were using, in New York, black children that were orphaned and in orphanages, that type of thing, right? To test the AIDS drugs that they were coming out. Making them so fucking sick, man. You don't think that's not going to happen again? Louis Farrakhan tells you not to take it, for crying out loud. You don't hear nobody talking about that. Very few, if any. If any. Because everybody's too busy waiting to talk about the next hit. As they've got people around them dropping off like fucking flies. And they want to be completely oblivious about that because they don't want to stand up to the cops and say, hey, what the fuck is going on here? Okay? Hold the cops and the government to account for dispensing this shit into the community. For making it available. For covering up murder for the purpose to harvest illegal organs. And to distract away from that, sure, they're going to hire a couple of goons to go out there and just ping off one here and uprise the whole fucking nation. And, you know, we'll lose a few $1 billion worth of property. And then that will give us more reason to bring in martial law with the freaking Navy and the Army and the super soldiers and all this other shit. As they continue to harvest organs by any means necessary, as Malcolm X would say. They don't care if they come in fucking with the guns, shooting them down, or if they come in with the fentanyl. But let me tell you something, it's the fentanyl that brings in the big fucking money here. This isn't a repeat of the crack epidemic. Fucking fentanyl fucking kills people, and it gives people a means to be able to kill others without getting caught, especially when your police are involved. So what's the difference between the two fucking stories? None. People have to learn the hard way. You gotta get up to 100,000 people dying from fentanyl before anybody will stand up and say anything about it. As half your nation has been burned down by that time. Because of, you know, that laundering of political agendas. Alright? And a free TV that you stole from Costco's. Anyway, so now that that's nice, because I'm going to try and make this soup creamy, right? Got myself all worked up here. This is almost over. This is the celery, one extra stick of celery, and a half of a small onion. Right? I'm just, building in that fiber because I want cream. I want creamy stuff. Right? Going more for a cream. Because I'm going to use what was cooked up in the soup. I'm going to put this in there as well. The only thing is the carrots that I cooked up with that stock, I'm going to keep in chunks. Right? But this celery, I'm now going to take it in here and chop it up and put it in there. So there will be a fair amount of celery. Right? And then the carrots, later, after everything's all said and done, and the soup is actually made, then I'll cut them up and heat them up in the soup, and that's the way it's going to be. With chunks of carrots and chunks of turkey. Chunks of turkey and chunks of carrots. And chunks of carrots, but the rest of it will be cream, because I'm gonna make like a cream potato, right? That's kind of what I want. I want a cream potato with the carrots, because I don't want to throw them out, and then just a little bit of turkey, and then of course make a turkey sandwich, right? That would be nice. So that's what I'm doing. So. But it's just that hamster wheel. I seen it with Kenneth Foster, right? I mean, lots of people, right? The thing is, I don't know. Institutional racism isn't just one sector. It's not just one issue. Right. It has lots of tentacles that branch out. And with this fentanyl, with it being glamorized, and then next breath criminalized, you know, based on the person was an addict or homeless person or had a mental illness or whatever. Well, they're not the ones that are making the billions and billions and billions of dollars off the fentanyl sales, and they're sure in the hell not the ones fucking making billions and billions and billions of dollars of trafficking organs on the black market. They're the victims. Okay? And the cops are covering up, and nobody's talking about it. Because they're waiting for the next opportunity for institutional racism to, you know, rear its ugly head so they can uprise and think that they're going to implement change that way as your fringe groups go off and oftentimes just make it harder for everybody else. Because, like I said, turn on YouTube and all you see is people running around with fucking masks on. So that right there, people, I'm a nomad. I walk in no man's land. I am an official gypsy now. Because it's like I'm at a crossroads when I go out in my community, because I came across an article. I'm going to leave it on this, okay? Because I might get shot, but nobody's going to stand up for me. I can tell you that right now. I don't fit the fucking criteria, okay? I go against the fucking grain. I make people feel uncomfortable. I make them think about things that, you know, they should be thinking about. I expose shit. So anyway, yeah, I walk in no man's land. I'm a nomad now. A certified gypsy. Yeah. Because you got the mayor of this city telling everybody that they should basically be responsible. You know, there's that gaslighting, that guilt trip shit, right? And when they go out, regardless of where they go, they should be masked up. And they're expecting this because it hasn't really quite been, right, mandated, which is not a real law. But anyway, as you know, Dr. You-Know-Who, from my understanding, and what little scene I've heard going on about, I don't know, I guess people can't even have they can't have nobody in their house to come over and visit. Nothing. You're only allowed 6 in your house, that's it. And I'm like this is complete lunacy, right? But yet the numbers of people dying from fentanyl is like clockwork, people. It's like clockwork. If anything, they reeled in a few extra ones, right? Because they made sure they cleared out the hospitals to scare everybody away so that the ones dying from fentanyl have free access to health care, right? To have their organs either autopsied out and then disappear like Ciera, right? Or to just have them straight up fucking taken out after a dead body's been hooked up to a machine. Well, yeah. First they took out the organs, then they hooked up the body to the machine. That's going on as business as usual. I can guarantee you that. That hasn't stopped. The numbers of people dying from fentanyl in the province of British Columbia, Canada has increased by design. See, me, they can shut up. They just shadow ban my channel. And now they're going to be hunting me down in the community when I go out to buy fucking bread and milk. And if they're not hunting me down, they're publicly humiliating me even more than they've ever been humiliating me. And they've been publicly humiliating me for a long fucking time. With their medical kidnappings, wrongful illegal apprehensions, you know, cover-up of murder, you know, just the whole 9 yards. And people are oblivious to it. But yet they'll rise up for that one incident that, yes, keeps reoccurring. But again, compare those numbers to the numbers of people dying from fentanyl, because we're not talking about 60 years ago or 40. We're talking about now, right? Take that energy. I'm not saying don't stand for your principles, by all means, for sure, right? But, you know, they need to really make their voice count. And right now, it's just a fucking free-for-all for people to talk, right? And wish and hope for change. Try and fight for that change. But, I don't know. In a year from now, all those people that are out there rioting and looting and all that shit, I can almost guarantee you 1,000 of them will be dead because of fentanyl. In terms of all across the United States of America, at least 1,000, if not more. But nobody's standing up for that. Nobody's rallying around that. Right? Because you don't have two white dudes or one Hispanic and, you know, whatever they have on their police forces down there, right? You know, to point the fingers at. So it's not no disrespect. It's just, you know, it's one of those things where you want to multitask and get more for your effort if you really, truly are rallying for change. And the big one is, they're harvesting these organs by any means necessary. I'm going to leave it on this note, because I'm not going to go on it, right? They're harvesting these organs by any means necessary, whether by gun, or whether by fentanyl, or whether by, you know, whatever. The majority of those organs are being harvested for one reason or another. So that's the end game, right there. And if they can distract the public to cover up that rabbit hole, they'll do that. Okay, I'll be back.